Sup, bitches? My name's Tony. Some people call me T-Dog. I'm going to read you a real story about a video game that got sent me by someone I know. Here we go.
I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, God forbid, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I like how you get to explore the towns in it, until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. I usually get VHS tapes in the mail, but the only thing I got in the mailbox this time was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note. First, I realized it was from my dear friend Kyle. Let's just call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I knew that because I recognized his handwriting. Though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy, and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did so in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Hey, Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late. I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tommy. Destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game, it's what he wants. Just destroy it, please. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend, and I haven't seen him in get this, 2 whole weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? And not a VHS tape. Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looked like an ordinary computer CDR disc. I bet you hip kids these days don't know what a CD is, except it had black marker on it written SONIC.EXE in Comic Sans font. So it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing on the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it since I'm a big Sonic fan with a gigantic penis. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome! Because, like I said earlier, I love the classics. The first thing I noticed I was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened. The title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. Yeah. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me. What did I do to him? And his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured it was just a glitch and I forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so. Isn't it weird when people remember the exact time of these things? Whatever. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic 3 popped up, and I was like, WTF? What's this thing doing in the first Sonic game? poker face. Anyway, then I noticed something was off. The background was the dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from SONIC.EXE, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Oathbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. And the image for the save file, where you see a preview of the level you're on, is just red static for all 3 files. But what freaked me out more was the character select showed only Miles, Tails, Prower, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Now I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Oh, dear. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy. But as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself it was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Much like my sexual orient. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked File 1 and chose Tails. And when I selected and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy before cutting to black. How Kafka-esque. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more, and then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the tag showed only Hill Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1, but the music was different. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse, like when you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, and it goes, oh, you know, Satan in the tool shed. Whatever. I keep a festive melon outside of my tool shed sometimes. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails per hour start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games, but what was odd was that as Tails was running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. Actually, to be specific, it was 5 minutes, 1 second, and 11 milliseconds. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones very slowly as I kept going. Out of here! I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was a pair of testicles. No, it was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face I never saw him have before, so I had to move along and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving on some more dead animals, as Tails moved past them looking more and more worried as the music lowers as he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hung on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, Doc, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Miles, Tails, Prower to continue. After a minute passed, after the music stopped, after a minute passed after the music stopped. Sorry, I failed out of English class. Tails was running up a hill and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Miles, Tails, Prower, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered. Obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, if not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make a move, so this had to have been a cut scene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger, and something bad was going to happen in this danger zone. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to to get away from Sonic. As the static grew louder, suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like the title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds. Actually, 8. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mislead you. And then white text appeared for your message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with yourself and also me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game. And besides, masturbating would have been a lot more fun. But my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with the level title now saying Hide and Seek. Kinky. This time, I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Kinky. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. Oh, wait till I tell 4chan about this. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark. His Robotnik from SA2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly I heard that creepy laugh again. That awful Kafka laugh. Right after 10 seconds... 11 had passed as I helped Tails run through the forest. And then I start seeing flashes of Sonic popping. Popping, that's the ticket. Everywhere on the screen again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful, drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails, slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose a sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic and he had the black and red eyes again. Only this time he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, another cut scene, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Poof. Tails lay there and started crying for 15 seconds. Why me? The scene was rather upsetting to watch and I kind of teared up myself. That's kind of stupid. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face. He looked down the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails before the screen went black. I'm smart, I said lunged instead of jumping. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds like nails on a chalkboard. Anyone see the most recent episode of The Simpsons? The text returned only this time. It said, "You're too slow, wanna try again, you asshole?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails were supposed to be best friends, right? Why would Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I brought back to the character, select the save file that Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and he had the expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. That laugh came again. The screen cut to black and stayed there for another 10.507314 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." Yeah, well, no shit, I'm fat. I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some sort of sick, twisted joke about my weight or anything, really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looks so much different. It had the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark, reddish, cloudy sky that looked like period blood. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to keep this rated G. But it was the music that creeped me out the most. It looked like Yagi-Gi's theme right after you beat Bulky and Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little disheveled. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails. It looked as if he wasn't sure what's going on, but I made a move anyway, 'cause I'm an asshole. He ran down the straight pathway into the Stark level. As he did, the screen started to flicker, red static a couple times, and that maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible is going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseating, knocking down this bloodstained road, but I still kept going, 'cause I'm an asshole. Suddenly, his Knuckles ran. Sonic appeared right in front of him with his black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing, the black screen with text saying, "Found you." I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already. What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. Then this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hill 1 final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I have these feelings, but suddenly Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. A terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again, and I made him punch again, and Sonic vanished again. Before laughing, Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Kinky. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. Then a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles. There's that word again, and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted at least 3 seconds. At that moment, I was scared. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with so little time. Would you agree? What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared and horny to think about that. I was brought back to the main menu this time, and the second file box had Knuckles on the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I assumed he lost a game of basketball. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on a save file, but I couldn't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I'm not that stupid. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I was really horny, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch. Now, if you keep saying that word fast instead of a P, it sounds like whatever. Black darkness. Though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you, too." The cries died out as I then heard Sonic laugh. His laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kafka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid, just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last that long. I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking toward me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me and I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed, grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game instead of seeing my psychiatrist. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky playing as Robotnik penis. But anyway, the level title appeared again. This time it said ... which I found really freaky. I mean, there was no words. It was just an ellipsis. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games. And as a purist 90s kid or whatever the fuck, yeah, I'm not cool with that. It was the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were dark grayish purple with animated candlelights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the part on top of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, shit. Sorry, 9.5. I'm going to have to re-record this. I'll just finish it for now. Every 12 seconds or... 9.5... 9.5 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song like Bach or Beethoven, but I knew better. This was a song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Ooh, Silent Hill? Hill Act 1? Could it be a play on words? Ooh, that'd be clever. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face as if he was just a little bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right at least twice and then shrugs at me as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my skull about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward in his usual running motion. Yeah, I know, he's fat. And I also know that when you beat him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him and stuff, well, he could do it through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous because I was scared of stairs. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Someone bled all over the place. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And we headed down toward another flight of stairs. Oh, fucking stairs. This one's much longer. It took at least a full minute. Then I heard that hard Kefka laugh again. Woo! And then the music slowly faded into it. It was quiet as it did. The walls turned more dark red. The torches were a black flame now. When Eggman landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he looked really creeped out. Though he tried to hide, I couldn't blame him because I was scared too, right? Because video game characters have the same emotions as people. Suddenly Sonic popped out right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds to show me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic, oh, for the love of God, of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you could see his face while his head and torso faded black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean he looks so real you can actually see the liability, as you can actually feel and touch the screen. Oh my God! Kids, there's nothing more cool than lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. It's your lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. No one has the right to touch your lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, or pride if you don't want them to. So, what do? First, you say fuck you. Then, you get out of there. And if you're not comfortable, you tell a police officer. Or you send an inbox message to www.youtube.com/DaveTheUseless. Thanks, kids. And now back to more Sonic. His face. Oh, God. He had the most horrifying smile I'd ever seen. And that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. I suppose I have short-term memory loss. His eyes were wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking. Somewhat yellowish. From the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off of it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except it sounded more distorted and even demonic. Went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again. It was messed up. It was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. Here's what it said. I am God. It was when I read that message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right there and then. This Sonic was a monster. A pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And this game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed, as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly, while his mouth was wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud it hurt my ears. I was surprised I could hear it and not just dogs. I yelled and grabbed my ears, as the red static screeched for a good 7 Beverly Hills 90210 seconds. Then it stopped. It showed nothing but a black screen. I sat there staring at the black screen. I thought this nightmare was over. But one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tommy? The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear, as if Sonic was right behind me. Don't look behind you, by the way. Played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu.
And this time the third save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray. His mustache drooped like a droopy dog and had blackened. His glasses broken, his blood is coming from him. He had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog. Always will be. I know it's hard to believe, but the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened.
Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one. And then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you to hell. Or he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there. But at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I think that's 576 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper.
Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom.
I turned around to see where the voice came from. What I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Super Mario plush doll.